Welcome everybody to the Chinchilla Pickin' Podcast. It is November the 10th, 2024 at 4:10 p.m. As always, we hope to be entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. My name is David Underwood, and I'm joined by the one and only uncomparable Brandon Beaver. I don't know how to say
It's
that.
not incomprehensible this time, so I'm happy.
Gonna mix it up.
Incomparable.
Gotta say something different each
Yeah.
time.
Now there's context matters. So incomparable in what way?
No one can compare to you.
Yes. Yeah, incomparable in my stock picks or the fact that I forgot my glasses were on my face about 5 minutes ago.
Now I'm laughing again. that was a great moment in history for us. Uh,
It's been a
so for our
couple of
listeners,
long
for our
nights.
listeners, we're getting ready to talk about what we had coming up, and Brandon's like, "Hold on a minute, let me go get my glasses." And I was like, "You're wearing them on your head." Funny moment. Funny moment.
It's been a long couple of nights. I'm a very tired person right now.
Well, we're happy you're here and sharing your knowledge and expertise with us.
Yes.
Because I always brag about how smart you are. One of the brightest people I know when it comes to researching stocks, companies, and funds and what have you.
What a coincidence. I brag about that too.
Nice. Modesty. No, no, no. He actually, yeah, it has bounds. He doesn't have modesty. Here we go. um, it was a very busy week in the market. A lot moved. I tell you that. A lot did move. And everything that I said was going to move higher based on if Trump would win on last week's podcast happened.
Mhm.
Now the call on Bitcoin by some people, like I read off the article that I was reading off and quoting these individuals, they thought Bitcoin's going to continue going higher. It's not going to stop at 80,000. That's 75 is going to be the new base, and now it's going to continue going higher. I don't know if I hold that view, but Bitcoin heading 80,000 establishes my call on this podcast that I made back in January where I said it would. Um, so I have now been confirmed correct by the markets. Thank you. Um, just in time too. We're in the last little stretch of the year, so glad it hit that mark. But yeah, a lot of things move. We said Tesla would move if Trump won. Tesla moved quite a bit.
It
I
did.
bought it the day after, like a lot of other people did. I know a number of people, friends and that Brandon and I are friends with, made trades on it, bought it, made other option trades. We have one
Well,
friend that
our one buddy we talk to all the time, and you just sent a text message to him. He sold Tesla for years. I mean, years and years and years.
yeah, he's a diamond hand holder. Um, yeah. So the difference, if you're new to listening to this podcast, Brandon is definitely a diamond hands long term investor. I have some things I have long term investments on, but then I also trade. And so I do different things. I don't delve in options too much. I think it's been probably 2 years since I did option. I don't do options too much anymore, but you know, yeah, it sounds like fun. Sure. We have one friend that out of nowhere, just once every 2, 3 months, he'll text Brandon and I about option trades he does just out of nowhere. You're just like, okay, good for you, man.
Yeah.
We appreciate, we love it. The conversation's always great, but it's just randomly out of nowhere. He just send us a text. Hey, look at this option trade I did. It's great. I love it. But yeah, a lot of markets moving this week. Most of it was positive for stocks. Not every stock, of course, moved up, but a lot of it was positive. And then the concern about tariffs is starting and who the tariffs are going to be on, and yada yada yada. And we could delve into that at another episode.
Let's go back to Tesla real quick because what happens to Tesla if Elon accepts a position in the Trump cabinet? It's
I
possible.
I don't believe he will.
Okay.
He's
You
too
don't?
busy. His goals don't allow him to spend that much time in a position like that. He likes to be the owner, the founder, the one to control right now. That's where he's at in his life. He would not like to be in a position. I can't see him wanting to be in a position where he has a boss and he has rules with the walls that he has to stay within.
That's true.
He's more of a creative mind.
Yeah.
I can't see him accepting a position in the cabinet.
Yeah. So I was
But I
listening.
do believe a Tesla. I mean, because we're neither of us are going to call cover Tesla in the podcast today. I do believe Tesla is overbought at this moment.
So I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and I guess Elon had created an app that's not available to the public, I don't think, that successfully predicted the outcome of the presidential election about 4 or 5 hours before it was announced nationally. And he was at a party with Dana White, a watch party for the election. And Dana said about 10:15, 10:30, Elon just comes up to him and says, "I'm going home. It's over. Trump won." Yeah, his app. Trump won. It's over.
Nice. It would be nice to be that smart, right?
Yeah.
Wonder what that's like. All right. Well, how about we get into our show here today and we cover our stocks we are going to cover and give you some detail and information on. But the rules. Brandon and I get together 5 to 10 minutes before the show and we tell each other what we're going to talk about. You hear the live back and forth, the bicker and the banter right here on the show for you. As always, Brandon the Beaver is going to take it over.
Yeah.
Brandon.
So high cost of fuel, low savings for consumer doesn't seem to matter to the travel industry right now. Booking Holdings, they brands include Priceline, Kayak, Open Table, and a few others. They did announce job cuts and implemental organization changes. They include seeking real estate savings, modernizing processes and systems, and optimizing procurement. But they had a great earnings report here. It was nothing really that was bad at all. It sucks that people are losing their jobs. It seems like that's becoming becoming the truth for them because of artificial intelligence. That's why. They
Well, I
said
mean, that's to be expected. Like, you find a more efficient way of doing it where you don't have to pay a person to do it, then yeah, that's
yeah.
what's going to happen.
So they said they believe the efforts to modernize will improve operating expense efficiency, increase organizational agility, free up resources that can be reinvested further into improving their offering to both travelers and partners, and better position the company for long-term growth. Um, they haven't announced really the specifics of this plan or the cost of this plan yet to restructure. So we don't know the details on that. They said that they're going to work with councils and employee representatives. They expect to develop more clarity on the changes, including timing and the effects on employees and the financial impact in due course. They said so. Essentially, they said we expect the timing of this to come out in due course, which means we don't know when yet.
Gotcha.
They did report better than expected quarterly earnings. Revenue was up 9% to $8 billion. Analysts, several that I saw at least, raised their price targets. On Thursday, Expedia also had a quarterly revenue rise of 3 to 4%, about $4.06 billion. Adjusted earnings per share, so you take off all the one-time charges and stuff. That grew 16% year over year. So not bad. Um, one of the things before I dive closer into the report here, they talk a lot about room nights in the travel industry. Essentially, what that is, for example, if a guest books one room for 3 nights, that's three room nights. So take the room, multiply it by the nights. That's your room night. Um, they said improvement in room night growth in Europe was shown in the third quarter. This was the primary driver for sequential increases in global room night growth. Gosh, I can't talk right now. Asia was it. This is a huge focus for booking. They said that they had another quarter of double-digit growth. They remain optimistic in outlook for the region. Um, and they discussed Asia a lot in this travel call. This is a very specific uh, focus for them. Alternative accommodations. This is another focus here. What that is essentially somebody rents out their house. So think of an Airbnb, right? Booking is fighting Airbnb. They're doing the same thing on their website. They go through booking.com. and you can rent out your house on Booking to people who are traveling. That reached in Q3 about 7.9 million listings. They said connected transactions increased over 40% year over year. That's going through Booking. I've ordered the flight, I've ordered the hotel, and I've ordered the return flight. People that do connected transactions, even for the first time, are way more likely to return to Booking.com for the rest of their travel plans for years over on end here. So that's good. They use that as a metric to say that we've gained another return customer most likely. They said that air tickets booked on the platforms increased 39% year over year. This is huge for. I've been looking at jet fuel costs. I thought that would weigh on the air, the air travel industry. I thought savings would weigh on the air travel industry. I thought that with 2023 and the revenge travel and all of that stuff, the domestic flights that we had here in the United States, I thought we would have tough comparables, but we're still growing here. 39%. Air tickets increased 39% year over year. Go ahead, Dave.
So the air industry, the airline travel industry, had a boom about 10 years ago of low cost airlines. The low cost airlines, there all of a sudden was a lot of them. We recently are trying to have some consolidation. Mergers are being approved or not approved. So there's still a lot of low cost airlines out there for people to take advantage of. So even if people maybe have a smaller budget to work with for vacations now, there still is a lot of low cost airlines, such as, and I'll give some examples: Frontier, Spirit, JetBlue, Southwest. Even though Southwest is now slowly trying to make the move from low cost to mid grade, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Same
given
with
that
Frontier.
that would be why there's still a lot of bookings on flights because those low cost airlines have cut out all these extras, which can make it cheaper for someone to fly.
Well, there's a lot of consolidation in the low cost fare now. We've covered a bit of it, but yeah, that's true, and there's a lot of competition in that market still. So, but one of the things that they're benefiting from, Booking has a very good presence in Asia. They've got a large presence in emerging market economies. A lot of those emerging markets are shifting focus, and instead of using the old school travel advisors, they're using the internet, things like booking.com. um, Booking.com has their own website, obviously. One thing that's big over in China right now is trip.com. Agoda.com, that's something that they acquired in 2007. That's been big in the emerging markets as well. Um, just to taking a look at this, Booking.com is a top iOS travel app in 134 markets. They're number one. Airbnb is top 10 in 91 markets, and Expedia is 21 markets.
So here I got a question, right? So Booking.com owns Kayak, right? You said
Yes,
Kayak and a
yes,
number of other ones as well,
yeah.
all under the umbrella because I see separate commercials for each one of these. I don't see the same commercial, and it's like they're putting out that they're competing with each other, but really it's just, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it just Booking.com versus Expedia?
Yeah,
Isn't
essentially.
that
And
really just what
Airbnb,
this
and
is?
Airbnb for
Airbnb.
which they're getting into that that category right now too. And the government really doesn't seem to care about monopolization unless it's and by the way, this is not a monopoly. But if they were to use their rules that they're implementing on tech here in the travel
Well, I
industry.
mean, I would call it an oligopoly, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there's only
no,
a
for sure.
few,
Yeah.
less than five
A few
major
big
players.
ones. A few big ones. There's small ones, but it's very hard to compete with the networks that Booking has
Yeah,
acquired.
Expedia is really the only real competitive competition, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That I'm aware of. I mean, Airbnb has some, but Expedia is the only other one that has everything because Expedia has hotels.com and a few other ones. And so, that's the only big competition that I've seen.
yeah. I Going back to Asia here though, and part of this too is Asia is still coming out of the pandemic, right? But we also have the emerging markets that are going digital.
Well, China's in a downturn, and it's going to continue to downturn, is what everybody's saying with these all these quote unquote tariffs. So
Well, you know what?
I'm concerned. I mean, if you're saying Asia's going to be a strong point for Booking.com. I mean, with the downturn, isn't that going to take a slide down next year?
You're looking at China, both of Expedia and Booking both had growth in China, positive growth. Over the past 12 months for Booking, about 24% of their global room nights were booked by bookers in Asia. So, I mean, they got a strong presence in Taiwan too. So, I mean, and
Gotcha.
I know there's political turmoil and tensions there, but they're kind of everywhere in Asia. When they talk about Asia, they say that they're diversified across countries in the region. So there's no single country representing more than a low single digit percentage of the global room nights, and that includes China.
Okay.
So they're going everywhere, and but China, if China goes down, it's not going to tank them in Asia.
Gotcha.
So, uh, Europe was in the high single digits as far as room night growth by region in the third quarter. That's another surprise to me because the European economy has been, mixed, so and so. The rest of the world was up mid single digits, and the U.S. was up low single digits. So it kind of looks like international travel is where they're focusing right now. Expedia also reported, and there was a lot of, similar results. Not as good as bookings. Unfortunately, all of the investors that I have seen on StockTwits and they all figured this out before I did. So I
Yeah.
will give them that. I will give them that. That's why one of the reasons the price earnings ratio for Booking is higher than Expedia, and justifiably so. Expedia
I
is focusing.
can I interject 1 second? I will
Mhm.
say this, and then we can get back to topic. As much as we pull funny things from stock twits, there is still a lot of decent information on there from
There
other
is. There
investors.
is. Yeah,
So
I agree.
there you go.
There's a lot. I would say 70% idiocy, 30% really intelligent. There's not much right in the middle. There's
It,
really
it it is black and white, yes.
not. So Expedia is now, and this is interesting too, instead of focusing really on Asia, and by the way, like I said, they're not really global like Booking is. They are global, but they're not as global, with Booking being the top 10 iOS travel app in 134 markets and Expedia only in 21. Expedia right now is focusing on business to business. So we're having a rebound there finally after COVID, and Expedia is, focusing on that. They said business to business continues to outpace the rest of the industry for them. Delivers strong double-digit growth for the quarter. International demand was stronger than the United States, and compared to last year, booked room nights grew in low single digits in the United States, low double digits in Europe, and high teens in the rest of the world. Um, they've got an app now. So, and Booking is attacking Airbnb just by listing on booking.com. Um, Expedia has released an app called Verbo, and that stands for Vacation Rentals by Owner. I guess we'll see how that works out. I think that to me
It's
that
been out
just
for a while.
yeah, but I mean it seems like it's a cost that you really didn't need to. Everybody knows you go to Expedia for travel, so why not just put it on your website like
Well, I mean, why does
Booking
Booking.com
does?
need Kayak and Priceline separate websites? Why not just have it all on Booking?
Yeah, that's true. I agree. But Kayak and Priceline are all going to do the same thing. They didn't release a separate application for a Airbnb style rentals to
Okay,
compete
true.
directly
Yeah.
with Airbnb. Um, they said they delivered their first four-quarter of bookings growth this year. Bookings were up modestly with traffic and conversions growing despite the negative impact of Hurricane Helene. So, um, I guess they're making the turn here to Verbo to being an actual competitor, but I think that was a mistake. I think Booking had the right idea, and let's just put it all into one app. Booking was talking about in their conference call oftentimes people will go in looking for an alternative booking, which is what they call people who list their houses, that you can go rent. People go on to booking.com looking for that and then decide to go with a hotel instead. Or people going for a hotel will often sometimes say, "Hey, I've got this house, I got 5, 6 people I'm traveling with. It'd actually be a better idea to go for this house." So I think that Expedia is making a mistake here for this app that is just specifically focusing on, alternative rentals. Um, because of that, if people, if you're gonna go to Expedia.com, I would want to see everything, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, Expedia was known for specializing in flights, and they partner with car rentals. Then they have the site hotels.com for hotels, and then they own VRBO for houses. So they really have it separated into each has their own, column, if you will, of things that they silo within the company that they work within.
I like all of my options being in one place. Makes it so much easier for the consumer personally, and I'm sure it links it somehow. But
Yeah,
that was also, I used to be an avid traveler. I'm not so much, recently. But one of the things that used to drive me nuts is if I would go to a travel website and then it would, come up with an advertisement for a hotel and I would click on that and it would take me to a different website. Whereas on Booking, I do it all at once. So, solid results for both. Booking to me seems to be better positioned for growth and emerging markets and for the future. Um, Unfortunately, like I said, the market figured that out before I did. So I would wait right now. I think we're trading around 4,700 something. Honestly, I think, if we get another correction, which we will at some point, at this point in time, you look at $4,000 for a buy point on Booking. Expedia is a little bit undervalued, possibly, maybe right around fair value right now, but I just have more faith in Booking. They are on my watch list. I did not buy the stock, but they're on my watch list. I would like to buy the stock at some point. Um,
gotcha.
and then I just wanted to kind of real quick dive into the rest of the travel industry, just take a general overview of it. Again, the airlines industry in 2024 had record revenues. By the end of the year, they expect to reach $996 billion domestically. Passenger revenues are about $744 billion, up about 15.2%. Passenger growth, the number of global passengers is expected to increase by 10.4% this year. Operating profits are going to be about $59.9 billion domestically, up from $52.2 billion in 2023. Total air cargo volumes have reached 62 million tons, and net profits are projected to be $30.5 billion with a net profit margin of about 3.1%. That includes all those low cost airlines, So honestly, I'm looking at this again and I say soft landing. I think
Yeah.
you were right at the beginning of this year. Looking at the hotel industry, revenue growth is, and this is revenue per available room, forecasted to reach about 3% year over year. Growth is driven by ongoing recovery in inbound international travel, strong performance in meetings and group events, and continued demand from leisure travelers. Regional performance, as far as that goes, the US and Europe are expected to see steady growth. Asia Pacific is recovering well with international tourism arrivals expected to reach pre-pandemic levels by the end of the year. Um, yeah, we're looking at high operational costs, competition from alternative lodging sources like Airbnb, cruise lines, economic uncertainties, and such, but it doesn't seem to really be affecting anybody in travel right now. That the growth continues.
All right, I'll give you one travel company that well, airline that has seen a tremendous triple digit jump in sales. And this is El Al. It is the Israeli airline, and they primarily go in and out of Israel because all other airlines, not that the government has stopped airlines from coming in, they just they don't want to take the risk of sending their planes in there, so they quit. So you're down to very few options. But El Al is an Israeli airline that always flies in and out of Israel, and they have seen tremendous growth. They are talking about buying numerous more airlines and continue the growth globally, and they are it's been crazy the amount of growth that company has seen because, American, Delta, British Airways, all these other companies are just not going in there as much or cutting the routes.
Okay. And
So
there's a lot of Israelis that have family here in the United States, and I would assume that maybe people from the United States traveling to Israel to check on their families, or those people in Israel flying here to stay here in the United States for a little bit until the tensions and the turmoil hopefully cools down.
well, I mean, there's also the fact that, we can't, without getting into any kind of political or religious conversation, it is a historical point, if you will, of three major religions of the world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that for travel. A lot of people travel there for that. So, they get a lot of travel, and L has been benefiting from no a lot of other airlines dropping their Israel routes. So, yeah, and I got that story from NPR. I was listening to NPR in the
Nice.
morning, and they were talking about it. So,
Nice.
all right, time to talk about, guess what, Brandon?
What?
Oil.
Oh,
Oil. All right. So specifically, I'm going to talk about Transocean. Transocean, if you don't know, it is a company that has oil rigs that they lease out. They also service these rigs. Schlumberger is a company that also services rigs, but Transocean owns rigs. They reported their quarterly results. It was back.
Translation, Dave. Does that mean that the Atlantic Ocean is identifying as the Pacific Ocean now?
No, they've owned that name for years. They had it before trans was a thing. So let's move forward, shall we? Uh, Basically, their report came out pretty good. They have continued growth year over year. It was a great quarter for them. They did very very efficient. They reported this just a few weeks ago. They came out. Let me see the headline number. Adjusted net income was 64 million. Was it? Yes, 64 million. For the quarter, drilling revenues, contract drilling revenues was 948 million for the quarter. Again, they're not an oil company, so you're not going to see the numbers in billions and billions. They are an oil rig company where they lease these rigs out to oil companies, or they go ahead and service these. So they're not an oil company. I want to specify that they're just a company that services oil companies. Um, when I dig into the numbers here, they had a 21 million or 0.02 cents per diluted share gain based off of retirement of debt. So they finished paying off some debt. So they got some gain there. Plus, they had some tax items that gave them a gain as well on their diluted per share. Now, what is going on here is contract drilling revenues for the 3 months ended in September 30th increased by 87 million, which is great. But I want to talk about what they recently just finished. They built a new drill ship. They call it Deepwater Aquila. And they went ahead and they already have it leased out for the next 3 years for a company out of Brazil. It represents about $486 million in the leasing of this. And they took a hit on their earnings because they had to pay for the shit to be built. So when you look at their earnings, it's going to say something minus the cost of Deepwater Aquila or including the cost of Deepwater Aquila if you're looking at the earnings, and it's because they had to pay for the ship somehow, right? But now Transocean currently has 8 of the 12 ultra deepwater 1,400 short ton hook load drill ships in the world. They own 8 of the 12 in the world of deepwater drill ships. So very, very cornered market by them. They just took a hit to the stock recently. and the stock has dropped down, which is what I called would happen. Now, with the change in the U.S. administration, and we have Trump in office, and his administration has said that they are oil friendly. I would look at maybe making a purchase of rig at this price level and look for it to move up from here. Currently, rig is trading in the $4 to 450 range. I would look out a breakout above 550 before I would maybe sell. So this is something I'm not trading for a couple weeks. It would take a few months, but the return would be very nice. I especially like the fact that they already have their new deep water ship that just got built. It just went underway and is already leased out for 3 years. So that's good news there. So they're making the good moves. They have contracts. They continue growth in their profit, top line, bottom number, all growth across the board. Rig looks good for future growth. Brandon,
Again,
thoughts?
again, points to soft landing.
Yes, yes, it
And
does.
this is the one time I'm happy to be wrong. So
Right?
far,
Because
at least.
everybody's making money right now,
Well, it
right?
doesn't mean that, well, there's a lot of people that are having problems with inflation, especially people on fixed incomes. And so it doesn't mean that the economy's all rosy. It just means that it doesn't look like we're going to have a meaningful recession.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing for the economy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Transocean definitely looking like a buy right now. A lot of people are liking it. I like it right now. I don't see, hold on, let me check. I don't believe there's a dividend for this. Yeah, no dividend, just earnings. So this is definitely one that, you can hold it forever, but it tends to come back down. It's very cyclical, which is why it's good for mid-range trading. Not short-term trading, but mid-range trading. It's good for that. And that's
Like
what I do with
the
it.
swing trades,
Yeah.
month to 3 months.
Yeah, that's what I've always typically done with rig, and that's what I recommend you do with rig.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to another one I found. This one is, and I hope I pronounce this right. I've never heard someone else say the name of this company, so I'm reading it, and I hope I say it right. Ares Capital, ARES Capital, ticker symbol ARCC. It's a specialty finance company that provides financing solutions to private middle market companies. Uh, when I look at the stock, it has stayed pretty much in range for 6 months. Year to date, still in range. 2 years, still within the range. It has stayed within this range. It has gone up though, very shortly from a low of $18 a share in 2023 up to 22 a share. I go out in the 5 year chart, still within range. 10 year chart, still within range. So you're saying like if this stock never moves, David, why are we looking at this? Well, here's why it caught my eye. This stock has and this is a weird one, has a yearly dividend of 9%. So it sounds like it's a good place to put money and leave it, that you want a long-term investment that you're going to always produce some cash from, right?
Right.
So current yearly dividend rate over the past 12 months trailing was $1.92, and it's currently at $21 a share, so right around that 9% mark. What does Ares Capital do? Ares Capital gives out loans to companies, or sometimes they invest in companies and they want a seat at the table. So they're like a Persian Square but smaller. And instead of growing the stock, they prefer to pay out in dividends, which they like to hope increases people holding on to the stock to increase their dividend payout every quarter. Some of the companies that they work with, that they've given out loans to or invested in: Athena Health, Ready Ice, High Street Buyer, Cornerstone On Demand. There's a whole list. There's 353 companies that you could look into. And like one of them, I'm sure they didn't invest that much money into this, but it was Eagle Football Holdings Bid Company, and it's a multi-sport clubs platform. So, I mean, there's all kinds of companies they invest with, 353 altogether. All the companies are listed on the website. They have to. They're a publicly traded company. They list all these companies they invest into there. I'm sure on some of the smaller ones, they want a seat on their board. On some of the bigger ones, they maybe just want to go ahead and provide the loan at a higher interest rate. This is what they do. It seems like when I've been looking through the numbers, it's a good company, solid company. Like I said, the stock price has not moved that much at all, but the dividend has always been there. So if you're looking for a dividend portfolio, if you had one of those, they look fairly strong. They partner with a number of good companies and a number of companies I never heard of, but they give out secure loans, non-secure loans, certificates. They run it a lot of different ways. Overall, I like this company. Let me see here. They do third party led senior and subordinate debt financings. They invest through revolvers, first lien loans, warrants, unitranche structures, second lien loans, mezzanine debt, private high yield, junior capital, subordinated debt, non-controlled, a lot of different ways. But they invest into companies and they always prefer to have a seat at the table.
So if you're like me and you sometimes forget your eyeglasses are on your face by the time you get home or you get done with this podcast, you might forget the ticker symbol that Dave said. When you pull it up, there's two different, well, there's a few different ARCCs here. So don't get confused. You look at ARCC management, that's up like 90% or something crazy for the last 12 months. That's not what he's talking about. It's got like a price earnings ratio of like 75 or something like that. He's talking about RS Capital, which has been steady and has a price to earnings ratio that's more reasonable. In fact, maybe even low, undervalued at 8. So RS Capital is what you're looking for, not RS Management.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarity there. Appreciate that. Yeah, it is very steady, and I believe the PE is suppressed, and there's no growth because they've had such a high dividend. Versus if they actually invested the money versus a dividend, they might have a higher PE, and but the stock would also be growing. So,
Right.
lots of different things there. I think it's a good one to invest with. So if you want some dividend investments, one I have is Mo Altria. You can also add ARCC or Aris Capital to that. That would be another one.
Awesome.
All right. Before we get to our final thoughts, Brandon, giving you a little 30-second heads up on this. I do want to plug that our Jingle Bell Run in Cincinnati, Ohio, every year. If you are interested in joining us, please reach out. If your name is Tristan, you must reach out and join us. That's a requirement. But yes, reach out, join us. We will cover your registration fee if we can. Cool. All right,
Awesome.
Brandon, final thought.
I guess I gave up on the Cowboys. We did this show during the game. So no, my final thought is, I don't really have any stocks to buy right now. I might actually look at the Soros Capital because it looked pretty good at a glance. And I am looking for a dividend, so that's possible for me. That's all I got really. That's all I've got for this episode. So I will say this. We just be nice to each other. Be kind. We just had an election. People are, being, freaking out on Facebook and arguing and fighting and defriending each other. Bring the temperature down.
I like that. Good thought. Good thought. Yeah, I have my two calls. Rig, I believe, is going to go up from here. That's a call if you're listening. That's a swing trade. I wouldn't invest in it just because it goes up and back down, up and back down. But right now, I believe you're buying it on a down point. RS Capital is one I just started recently researching. That's a good dividend play. Bitcoin again is back above 80,000 share as of right now, the second, and it continues to move higher. I believe all these companies that rise and fall off of Bitcoin are also going to go up and down. I know Riot Platforms has gone up and tremendously. Coinbase has just been on a tear since this happened. Will Coinbase hit 300? I don't know. It depends on how far they push Bitcoin, because Coinbase has its fees based off percentages. So the higher the Bitcoin price is, the more money they theoretically make. Because of that, I mean, there's a lot of good other things out there that are rising due to the Bitcoin play off. I own just a couple Bitcoins, but not much else in the crypto community. I know a lot of our listeners that reach out. Some own Doge, some own Shiba, Some own Ripple. I owned Ripple earlier this year, took a small profit, got out. I didn't like it because I didn't think it was going to move, and I was correct. It's still stuck in that price range. But that's as far as crypto goes. I would say just hold at the moment, enjoy the ride. If you're not in, I think it's going to come back down, but I think the bottoms are going to be higher than they were before. So I think we're setting new bottoms. So it's still going to come back down and reset at some point in the next month, and take a correction, if you will, because anytime you get a big run up like this, there usually is some point a correction that brings it back down. That's the people who are quick selling in and out. They're taking their profits they made, and that's an opportunity to get in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's what I'm looking for. That's all I have. I want everybody to be safe, love each other. Thank you for listening. We hope we've been entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. Have a good night.
Have a good night.